Okay, hello and welcome to Mary's Well YouTube channel. I'd like to introduce Andrew Smith, Scottish football writer for the past 35 years, who now works with Justice and Peace Scotland, and he's just back from a meeting with Father Gabriel Romanelli in the City Hall, was it?
It was in the Royal Concert Hall, and then there was also a mass. They said
Wow.
a ecumenical mass. But he's been such an inspiring character, such an inspiring man. But you know, his faith must be so strong because what he was saying in a very kind of dispassionate, almost a dispassionate manner, it would just lead you to despair. Some of the things he was telling us, because I didn't realize that really the Christian community in Gaza is 1,000. It's only 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Out of 2.3 million.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, he said since the conflict began, he said that they've actually 240 of the Christian community have left Gaza, and another 33 have been killed. Most of them killed not even as a direct result of Israeli Defence Force snipers or even their bombing campaign, their carpet bombing, but through being unable, they're not allowed to actually get them. He said what people don't actually understand is even beyond the 34,000 that have been killed, there's 20,000 wounded that they won't, and 8,000 of these wounded people need to receive treatment elsewhere, and they're just not being allowed to take wounded people to somewhere where they can be properly treated. So he said a number of the 33 Christians that have been killed, it was through their wounds and the unwillingness of the IDF. Their compound, I think you've probably read about their compound, they had actually a couple of people killed in their compound by snipers, but in their compound, they've got 450 people stay in the compound, then another 250 around it. He said it used to be a church. He said, then it became a refuge, then it became a hospital, then it became a cemetery.
Yeah.
You know, and he's not been able to get back. He was in Bethlehem the day of October the 7th, and he's not been allowed to return to his parish, but he keeps in contact, obviously, with his deacon every day.
He was in Bethlehem on October the 7th?
Yeah.
And the deacon, do you know the deacon's name? The guy...
He did mention the deacon's name.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole thing's unbearable, and it's like...
It's unbearable. You know what he said? He said, Gaza is hell on earth.
Yeah.
Almost, he said. Almost.
Right.
He said, because this is a religious man, you must give him that. He said, what makes it not hell on earth? He said, is the presence of God. And, it's like how strong your faith must be when you can still see the presence of God. Well, he said life is a vale of tears. He said, we live in a vale of tears. He said, the only heaven that really exists is the heaven up there. He said, that life it's almost, there's certain people see struggle and they see pain and they almost see it as an opportunity to struggle, to come through, to be, to your humanity is remaining humane. And Father Gabriel was an incredibly humane character, personality. And as I say, he says, we pray for everybody. We pray for the 1,200 Israelis that were killed. We pray for the hostages. We pray for the 34,000 that have been killed, which he said, as we know, with 20,000 of them children. And he said, because we pray for everyone, he said, because everyone matters. And he told the story about one of the Christians that was killed. She was a music teacher. He said she lived in quite a privileged area of Gaza. I said obviously it was a poor region even before all this, but then the way it's been impoverished now by the 80% of the real estate is is gone and such like. He said even the houses that you think, well, that doesn't look as if it's getting any bomb damage. He said they're uninhabitable because if you don't have electricity, you don't have water, how can you live in a building? You know, even the buildings we might see, they think, well, and this is what some of the Israeli government propaganda say, oh, you look, there's all these buildings that are still standing. But they're no operational buildings, as it were. They're no buildings that anyone can live in. You know, okay. But he was saying that this piano teacher, she was walking home, he said, she wasn't a member of Hamas. She's not a member of Islamic Jihad. She was shot by an IDF sniper and she died on the spot again, not receiving any medical treatment. So the deacon said, we want to go down and get her body. They wouldn't let them. So she just lay there where they shot her for a fortnight before they could get agreement to go down and get her.
Yeah.
And he, you know, and this, it's an incredible community. The Christian community is an incredible community because they're incredibly active. They run, I mean, even though there's only 135 Catholics, but they run 5 schools. They run 10 clinics. He was saying during COVID, they were responsible for treating 60% of the people in Gaza that contracted COVID. They were involved in treating 60% of those. So they treated 45,000 people for this tiny community. They're just so active. But, I mean, it's like we do think before and after sometimes, October the 6th, but he was very clear on Father Gabriel. He said, people forget, he said, ever since the blockade, he said, we only ever had 4 hours electricity a day.
The blockade in 81 or what, 2001?
So that would be, it was blockade, does it not been the last kind of 16 years they talk about the blockade really being enforced with? Because, you know, what Egypt don't want, they don't want an influx of refugees.
Well,
so
they're charging 10,000 to get one person out. I know that. If you want to get one person, it's $10,000. So there's a price on everybody's head.
Yeah, he actually mentioned that. He said, if you can afford to go, he said, if you afford to go,
10,
you know, we talk about these people traffickers. That's people trafficking.
Yeah. It is a concentration camp. Why would you have a rave next to a concentration camp anyway? I mean, imagine in Nazi Germany, would people have a party next to where the extermination camps were, you know? Because that's what it is now. It's basically an extermination zone.
Yeah, well, he said, you know, as it's often described as the world's largest open-air prison.
Well, it's not, it's a concentration camp. It's an extermination.
Yeah, but it's gone beyond that, yeah. Yeah. But, do you know, but what he was saying was, even before that, he said it was one of the poorest parts on earth. And he said, we got, before all this happened, before the war, it's not even a war. I hate calling it a war because that sounds like there's kind of...
It's just slaughter.
Yeah.
Where's the other side? I mean, if they're just popping out of the tunnels and throwing a rock and going back down or what, man?
I know. But he said...
There's no evidence being produced about anything. There's no evidence being produced about...
what they did to that UN organisation, and now there's still no evidence.
No.
And actually, I also spoke, sorry, so I was going to say about the electricity, because I thought this was interesting, if that's all right. Look, he said before all this happened, since the blockade, they got 4 hours electricity a day, right? If on a good day. But he said you never knew when it was coming on. So they might put the electricity might come on at 2 a.m. in the morning. And then the next day it comes on at 4:05 in the afternoon. He said you didn't know to get your filters ready and get your things set up to. Imagine even living with that. Imagine actually living like that. You don't know when you're...
3 generations of refugees as well.
Yeah.
3 generations that have been born into that.
Yeah.
With the world just letting it happen, and you've got to blame UK government and American government and German government.
Oh, America could have stopped it at any point. They could
Yeah,
have stopped it at any point.
and I don't want to go sinister or it is sinister, the whole thing. It's not about religion or it's not really about politics. I mean, I don't really know what it's about. If it's basically just money, and there is, sorry, just let me finish. There's this
Well,
thing.
I don't want any anti-Semitic tropes of it.
Oh, well, there is the Judeo-Christian kind of crusade thing that and it's what they accuse. It's always what they accuse the other person of doing. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. We can say that Judeo-Christian. Yeah, we can say that. Yeah, because that isn't. Nobody can accuse us of being anti-Semitic because it's a Christian thing as well. Look at the blooming, like, you know, the famous one about how in Qatar all these England fans were going along with, like, you know, the Knights of the Round Table. You know how they wear all that stuff, you know, to support England. And they
Gosh,
say,
that was
do
yesterday.
you realise?
By the way.
Excuse me.
Yesterday was St. George's Day, and they all black up here in Mallorca, Palma. They black up and they celebrate. They black up and they have this party where they celebrate slaughter of the Arabs every year, and thousands of them get drunk, and there's always problems. There's always problems every year, and they celebrate it.
Right.
It's going to come up in the next couple of weeks. That's how backwards Mallorca is, you know.
Yeah.
You
You think about the Crusades, but these guys, like, I know. Imagine dressing up like the Crusades, like, and going to a country in the Middle East.
Yeah, but they just don't have any self-awareness, right?
They don't.
Even if you told them, they wouldn't hear it, you know. Probably.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. But you know what else he was saying? Father Gabriel was saying about. People don't realise about. Again, some of the Israeli government propaganda is that there's still goods in the streets and all that. And he said, see the goods in the streets? He said it only exists in a black market. See, a litre of water before it started was 6 shekels. A shekel is about 25p or something, I think.
Okay.
So it was 150 for a litre of water. You know how much that litre of water is now? He was telling us £18 for a litre of water.
Yeah.
£18. It was tomatoes. He said tomatoes before it started. He said you could get them for a bunch of, a portion of tomatoes or whatever, £1. He said now the last time his deacon was telling him the black market is £23.
Well, it's a famine. That's basically famine, and it's. I've been saying this before. I mean, I always like to. Okay, you talk about the Holocaust, you talk about Nazis, and then you talk about Ireland and the famine, and it's an enforced famine. The English enforced that famine, and now the English are doing another famine here, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, well, it's enforced. I think it's a deliberate attempt to make Gaza uninhabitable. So therefore, you force out. It's like the Zionist way is. It's ethnic cleansing.
They're already selling the real estate. They're selling it to Americans to buy property, like beach property.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's real or not, because it's hard to know what's real and what's not anymore.
Yeah, because it's got that strip, you know, in the ocean. You're right. Because it's like it would be great real estate for that. It would be great real estate for that. But I also met, and I don't want to prejudice his ability to get in terms of his visa and all that. But I also met a surgeon who was in Gaza for a month between February and March.
Wow.
He said the word he used was, he said they used this word. He actually followed that up by 2 weeks in Ukraine, and he said people in Ukraine were saying that it must be really trying for you, really testing for you. And he said, I didn't want to say to them, look, this is nothing compared to what I've just experienced. And he said it's nothing like he'd experienced in terms of
UK
Gaza.
accepted about 300,000 Ukrainians.
I know.
And 0 Palestinians.
I know.
They sent 8 billion quid over yesterday as well. Regularly.
Yeah. And the Americans 21 billion or whatever. But he said what really difficult for him as a human being, as a surgeon, is how often he's operating on children. He said 60% of the people he's operating on are children. And he said that's really difficult. He said he was operating on a little girl who'd lost every member of her family and 3 of her limbs. And he's operating on her and thinking, what kind of life am I trying to give you here? So it's like, it's tough. And it's like, like a fair play to the students in the seaboards in America, because they've just had it. They're not taking it anymore.
Well, that's how they changed apartheid in South Africa. It was the students first, and then they went and camped outside Washington, and that's how apartheid got stopped.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. And now I've been going on about Edinburgh University a lot, but I have to be careful. But they've got a painting of Balfour on the wall in the director's room. That's where he's celebrated. They've got major connections with Israel. That's Edinburgh Uni, which is close to home, And like I'm saying, well, you have to stop. You have to stop. Say stop. Everything stop. But then you've got to think, well, people have got to feed their families, they've got to protect themselves. But wait, what are they protecting? That their material things. And when you talk about this kid, then what? How many cars do you need? How many houses do you need? How many paintings do you need in the wall?
I know. Well, as you say, they got to disinvest. They shouldn't be investing in companies that are making like armory. This is. I was at another kind of peace movement thing the other week, and it's like, when you think about who's winning out of all this, the arms dealers. This is a bonanza between Ukraine and like Israel. This is a bonanza for the arms dealers.
Well, they own America, the lobbyists. They've been lobbying.
Oh yeah.
But even I don't want to. Even the rapper. He was ridiculed, but what he said was that all the people that own the music industry, it's the same people. It's the same people that own Google, Instagram, Facebook. They were in the IDF. Mark Zuckerberg's brother was in the IDF. That's what he done in the IDF. He pinpointed. He was.
Oh yeah, they're using all the AI,
so they use these WhatsApp groups and they go in with the drone and they zap people. There's footage of it. And
yeah.
I'm like, shit, we have to use Signal now. We have to use Telegram. But then you could get really paranoid about it. But
yeah, well, your invite to this went into spam. I had to fish it out.
No, I've been shadow banned and blocked and everything. Nobody sees anything that we do. We started a project called Mary's Well in Bethlehem. I'd like you to talk about Bethlehem. I don't know how long you've got, but just go through you were in Bethlehem for a few days about 20 years ago, yeah?
It was God, 94 now. It's 30 years ago, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, but I'm sure it's not changed. I'm sure it was pretty shabby. Was that when it was under Israeli control?
That was when the two-state solution was supposed to just about to be, they'd agreed the two-state solution a couple of months before. So that's the only reason I went, because I thought, I'm not going to Israel until there's a two-state solution. And I thought that was it.
It wasn't Israel.
I thought that was it. Yeah. What's that?
It wasn't. Would you fly into Haifa? You got to get, because we call Gaza. Gaza is like, I don't know how they pronounce it, and you don't say Tel Aviv. It's
Tel Aviv.
No, it's Haifa. It's from the.
Oh yeah, right.
That's just a fake name as well. It's one of these colonial names.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean.
Did you fly into what was the name of the airport's named after some racist, savage white Nazi called Ben Gagarin, maybe? Is that the name of the airport?
Oh yeah. He was involved, I think, the bombing of the King David Hotel, like all the British soldiers and all that, and that's how Israel came about. Because the British couldn't stomach, and my uncle was he did his national service then. Like, hold on, I need to get this is my battery's gone. I didn't realise I only had about 10 minutes left in my battery.
And I'll sing some songs. But I've got something I wrote about you. I'll just read it out and see if you can get your battery in time, okay?
Right.
Where is it?
I'll be with you in a second. Hold on.
Okay, I'm going to read this out if I can find it. Now it's Friday. It's Friday,
isn't it? Yeah, here we go.
April the 26th, and it's been going on for almost 7 months.
Oh, I know you got another one. This one isn't working properly, Mark.
7 months.
Right, hold on, go with you in a sec.
It's all right. Just take your time. I don't know why I'm small and you're big. Are you big on your screen as well? You got it?
Yeah, I've got
Cool. How long have you got? Have you got another? Can you do 2 40 minutes now?
it. I'll do another 40 minutes another day, you know, like, because people are going to come in here for their dinner and all that, and it's like, this is the
Alright.
best light I've got. Is the
But
light
anyway-
okay? Like,
Now you look fine, but you're big on your screen and I'm small, yeah?
yeah, I'm tiny on this screen.
And I'm big.
You're
Yeah.
big, you look good. Aye.
Just wonder how the recording
good.
goes, you know, because it used to jump when whoever talked went big, but I don't know how that functions not working. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Anyway, I wanted
as
to,
long as you,
as long as I what?
as long as you can work out in the edit.
Yeah, I'm not sure. If you're big and I'm small, that's cool for this. But anyway, I want to talk about Bethlehem because I know that I lost my way and Bethlehem changed my life completely in so
Right.
many ways. And I think maybe, I don't know if you can see it, but I've I kind of lost my way with spiritual stuff, and going to Bethlehem put me back in touch with God. He's in touch with me. We're touching each other a lot.
You maybe want to rephrase that. Yeah. You're sensing his presence
Yeah, man. And
in a good way.
yeah. No, because
The best
tell
possible
me
way.
about your experience at Bethlehem. But you got in the airport, right? You flew into Jaffa, right?
No, is Jaffa Tel Aviv?
Yep. Yeah.
What's Tel Aviv?
Jaffa.
Right.
Like Jaffa,
Flew in.
you know, that's where the
Actually-
origins come from.
Yeah. I think I was only in Bethlehem a small. I went to the border with Lebanon. So I was up kind of near Beirut as well.
Why'd you go up? How'd you go up? On a bus?
I went on a bus, aye. On a
Alone?
bus.
Were you with Sarah?
So this is pre-Sarah. I remember it was Rachel Duffield, but she was
Okay.
Jewish, so she didn't want to come.
Right.
I went to Galilee as well. I went to Galilee, but you know what happened to me? You know what happened to me at the airport at Jaffa, don't you?
No.
So they said you need to go into a room, and they took me into a room. You know, it was like the you know the fan, right? And there was one chair,
Jack
totally bare room, with one chair in the middle, right? And the guy come in, he said, sit there. And he stood behind me, right? He stood behind me and he walked behind me for a bit. And then he put his foot up on the back of the chair. So he said, keep looking ahead. And so he put his foot up in the back of the chair and he struck a match against his leg and lit his cigarette. Remember, this is the 90s, right? And he said to me, keep looking forward. So I wasn't allowed to look at him. He said, how long have you been speaking Hebrew? And I says, I don't speak Hebrew. And he says, and then he was kind of right in my ear, right? Like, so, you're a liar. I said, I'm no lying. I don't speak Hebrew. And then he walked around a bit. He left the room, left me there for about 20 minutes. And then he come back in, you can go. And it turned out I had a couple of problems. And it wasn't until much later, some women said to me, have you managed to get through airports okay? Like in a BA, you know, in the British Airways desk. Says, you managed to get through airports okay? I said, I've had a few issues. Says one particularly in Israel. Like, and she says, I'm surprised you haven't had more. She says, because, you know, you share the name of the second most wanted man at Interpol.
Andrew
like the
Smith.
world's most wanted person in Interpol. He obviously was like the Jackal or something. It was obviously taking just a false name, but it was like Andrew Smith.
Okay.
So he must have thought, because the Jackal, he was involved with the Palestinian cause, wasn't he?
Oh, everybody. I mean, well, anybody that was, yeah, righteous.
Yeah.
The Jackal. I mean,
The
there's a
Jackal.
lot of that. There's a big Irish connection, you know.
Yeah. I suppose if I was the Scottish one, maybe I was the Jockal.
Like there was any jockals, maybe there was, but there is a big connection with right now. Anyway, my experience. But anyway, so you went up to Lebanon. We get 10 minutes, right? You went up to Lebanon, yeah?
Went up to Lebanon and then we went down to.
Did you go into Lebanon? Did you cross the border?
We weren't allowed in. Actually, I could hear gunfire. I remember I was right at the border
Aye.
of like Lebanon because I could see in, you know. And I went to Galilee. Where else did I go? Because it's an easy country to navigate. It was in terms of, because it's not a big country, so you can go up and down a day. Then I went down to the Dead Sea. You know, I swam in the Dead Sea. Well, nobody swims in the Dead Sea. I didn't take any of my clothes off, so I just went with my white jeans, white top, just floating there in the Dead Sea. And then I went down to Alat. You know, that's the kind of beach kind of town kind of place that Israelis go for, kind of R&R, if you like. And once I was down there, I said to Rachel, I've got to go to Egypt. And she says, I'm Jewish, I'm not going to Egypt.
Right.
And the day I got to Egypt, they blew up a tourist bus with 29 people on it, were blown up in Egypt. So then I had to go back to leave Palestine or whatever, like again, like I had to go back into Israel.
Was that the Rafah crossing? What crossing did you go? You don't remember? Were you getting buses?
Yeah.
And you just left your friend somewhere?
Yeah. I said, I'll see you again, and I think it was maybe Jerusalem or something like that.
Okay.
She says, I'm not coming with you, because she says, I'll get so much stick.
But a lot
I'll
of
get so much.
Israelis go to Egypt for holidays. Well, they used to.
They used to, yeah. I
Yeah.
think she would. Well, I met a girl there, and she was wearing hot pants and all that, and we were going around the streets, and I says, you should dress appropriately. And she was getting spat on and all that. Because I said, you can't dress like that in a country. You know what I mean? Like,
I had to put
especially
a thing on in Bethlehem to go in the church. I had shorts on, and I had to
yeah,
go
yeah,
put
yeah.
a thing on just to get into the Church of the Nativity. But yeah. So tell me, when did you get to Bethlehem after Egypt?
So I think I was only in Bethlehem for like an hour or two. You know what I mean? It was one of those ones that was just a passing through job.
Did you go to the Nativity Church?
Is
Where Jesus was born?
No, I went to Calvary and all that. I went to Jerusalem and everything. I went to.
It's the Manger Square, this place, the square and the church.
Oh yeah. That's what a lot of the work we're doing in Justice and Peace. It's like Caritas. It's called Bethlehem. It's a group that they raise funds for Palestinians there, because there must be quite a big Christian community in Bethlehem, eh?
Yeah. That's who the football team we want to help. They're all like from that community, but the Greek Orthodox. It's all mixed up. There's the square. There's a Greek Orthodox and there's a Christian, and then there's evangelist.
Yeah.
All three.
Anglican even. Yeah, when you go into, did you go to Jerusalem? Did you go to Jerusalem?
I didn't, just straight through. Didn't stop. I just got hassled.
Right.
Like
Because Jerusalem's got the Arab quarter, and it's all like different Christian quarter.
Yeah, I went to go to the bus. To get the bus, I went to the Arab quarter to get the bus to go to Bethlehem.
Yeah, and you go in the crypt where Jesus, you know, where the tomb, it doesn't look like a tomb anymore, but there's bits that carved off because it's Greek Orthodox, it's Christian, you know, it's like everybody's got their wee piece of it.
Not for much longer.
Yeah. I suppose they'll just die. Like the Israelis will just take over the entirety of Bethlehem. They're kind of halfway there anyway.
We'll go back to the meeting today then. So was it busy there in the concert hall?
Yeah, they had to move it from, it was going to be a smaller venue, and they had such interest, they had to move it to a room in the, wasn't in the actual concert hall, it was a room in the concert hall. And then once they had that room in the concert hall, they had to move it to a bigger room in the concert hall because of
Right.
the interest in it.
Was there any positivity or message of hope?
Yeah, there was from Father Gabriel. He just refuses not to see hope. He says, we are an oasis, that he's talked about the Christian community as an oasis in the area. And he said, I don't know when it will happen, but we'll get back to being the oasis.
Yeah.
People. And the surgeon said it was quite kind of, he almost couldn't quite believe what he was seeing, because he also saw a lot of kind of children playing in the rubble and in the sewers as they are now and all that. He said, happy looking children, I suppose. It's like, it's terrible, but in the kind of human condition, it's like you adapt to whatever the circumstances are, aren't they? He says there's a lot of happy children, a lot of beautiful, happy children as well as this. So I don't know if you can give any more hope than that, but because he said you don't get peace without justice. He said, and how those two come around.
Well, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. I mean, they're not going to stop until they're forced to stop, and that's going to be a mess.
Yeah, well, this is the surgeon also said that. He said, effectively, they've kettled the population into the south. He said, so if they go into the north, he said the devastation, he said, because they've kettled them down there so that they're going to go in. They're going to rubble Rafah, aren't they?
Well, it's funny when you say kettle. Straight away I think about the Green Brigade and how they were kettled.
No, that was the word he used. That's why I used that. I wouldn't necessarily use it, but he's obviously saying this is a deliberate thing.
We 100% disagree on the Green Brigade, 100%. And I want to talk to them quickly because they're one of the few people. They sent over £170,000 to
their heart's in the right place. Yeah. Their heart's in the right place.
In a refugee. I met this guy in a refugee camp. Can't even name his name. I've lost touch with him. He's devastated about everything. But the Green Brigade are looking after a whole community of people in Bethlehem. And
yeah, I don't deny them that. I don't deny them that.
And I know when you get a few thousand boys together, there's always a few bad ones. There's always.
No, I applaud, and I've written about them. I applaud their actions on Palestine and the Palestine, on behalf of the Palestinian people. I don't disagree with 100% on that.
No, I shouldn't.
I disagree with
you. You've got
the context. The context in which they set it in.
But I couldn't even approach them. I wanted to approach them that day. We went to the send-off and we made a wee film. Yeah. And a couple of other guys made films as well, but they got told to F off. But they were very polite about telling them to F off. And it's understandable that they're suspicious for any media. I mean, who owns the Scotland on Sunday? I mean, and they've just treated you like shit after 35 years, right?
Steady, right?
Well, it's not a golden handshake, but
yeah. No, I know. Thanks for that. But no, I understand the reservations about getting presented publicly. I understand that. I understand it.
I mean, it's the problem is they've got everybody in their pocket. More or less.
But you've got
all the governments, all the media. Who else? The drug.
If they got everybody in their pocket, Scotsman let me talk about genocide in Gaza. How many other people?
They did.
I had articles. I've had articles that have said that.
Okay.
So, and you read articles in the Guardian every other day, and they'll mention genocide in Gaza. So this whole idea that we've got to remember the constraints. Most people wouldn't write that way, but that doesn't mean to say that no one's allowed to write that way, or no one's allowed to make these points.
But it's been a genocide for 100 years. It's not just a new thing that, it's a genocide just started. It's been going on since 1948.
Well, it's an apartheid. It's an apartheid system. It's an oppressive apartheid system.
Quite clear about trying to leave or we'll kill you.
Did you read Naomi? Did you read Naomi Klein this week? Did you read her?
I didn't read it. No.
The speech she gave at the Cedar in New York. They did an emergency Cedar. For the end of Passover and all that.
Mm-hmm.
and she said the Jewish community have been worshipping the false god, and the false god is Zionism. You should read it.
Right.
Zionism,
Okay. Okay.
it's well worth a read.
But it's hard to, because I completely separate Zionism from the Jewish community, but they are kind of
That's what she's saying. She said that,
not
and they should be
separate.
completely separated. They've allowed themselves to be seduced by Zionism.
Well, it's
Sections of the Jewish community.
it's the exact same thing as they accuse the Palestinians of. That's what they're doing to their kids.
Yeah.
And
And the dehumanizing of
all these
dehumanizing of the
weird what you accuse somebody of. It's like a guilt thing.